Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Mike L, Kevin Jack.
Hey, it's me. I'm here all the way from Planet Popup, or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right?
Yeah. And it was a pop-up Ian, apparently.
Yeah, that's like if you're a citizen from Pop-Up. You're a Pop-Up Ian.
Yeah.
But,
Papa Ian.
That's right. Today we are reading Silver Surfer issue 33 from 1989, and we just got in under the deadline here. Like the cover is actually January of 90, but we just slipped in here. And because it stars the Impossible Man.
That's right.
Little cone-headed green alien from the planet Popup. And he's a Popupian, or Popupian, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Whatever he's doing, he's got a pop-up business. They'll stay by the bell pop-up restaurants.
So that's what we're doing today on the big show. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I think we're up to 254. So we picked up like 3 or so, maybe 4. I don't know. Oh, can't remember what we were last week. But so we're getting closer to that goal of 500.
Yes, let's do it. Let's make him watch this or read it, I guess, as the case may be.
Yeah,
get that Dark Knight Returns in there.
Yeah, if we get to 500, Jank's going to make me read the Dark Knight Returns every week for a month.
Yeah, read the whole story, Nazi boobs and all. That's a tease.
And also remember my book Monkey Flip is out there about a chimp detective. You'll love it. So, all right, this oh, thank you. This issue here is Silver Surfer. Now, I said we've done a Silver Surfer in the past, but you weren't here. This is when it was me and Mike L., and we did the 1970s series. Now, the big thing about the Silver Surfer back then, well, for those who don't know who the Silver Surfer is, let's just recap here real quick. His real name is Norrin Rad.
Yep. That's pretty rad.
That's crazy. And his first appearance was Fantastic Four 48 from 1966, created by just Jack Kirby. He's given the only credit for this, but I don't know. I think Stan Lee probably had a hand in it. I don't know, in terms of the characterization and everything. And,
yeah, definitely.
Because the way this all came about with Silver Surfer, all right, so they had this guy named Galactus, the big planet eater,
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they used to work by what was called the Marvel Way, where they would plot an issue, then Jack Kirby would go and draw it all, and then they'd send it back to Stan Lee, and then he'd put in the dialogue. And they had, said what was going to be in the issue, and Kirby sent the pages to Stan Lee, and Stan Lee's looking through the pages, and he sees, there's a panel here where there's just a goofy guy on a surfboard. Who is this guy? We never talked about this. And Jack Kirby says, oh, well, that's the Silver Surfer or something. He says, because he thought Galactus needed a herald, someone, to go out in front and scout out planets for him to eat. And he was tired of drawing spaceships. So Jack Kirby at the time, what year did I say this was? 1966. Surfing was all the rage.
Yeah, it was. There was even a Batman 66 episode in like the 3rd season all about him and the Joker having a surf-off.
So Jack Kirby's like, let's just put a guy on a surfboard out in space. Like, it's just so dumb. It is so stupid. And listen, I'm a big Silver Surfer guy. I love the Silver Surfer. Even I admit it's dumb, but
it's not that dumb. It could be.
Why would a guy from another planet across the galaxy have a surfboard to fly on? He doesn't know what surfing is.
They could have surfing on Zenn-La. I mean, that's their prime method of transportation there. They don't have cars. They just surf everywhere.
Yeah,
it's like that American pastime. Escape from LA a bunch. Everyone just surfing and grabbing people out of cars.
But yeah, that's his home planet is Zenn-La. And then what was his lady? Shalabal, right?
Shalabal, yeah.
His surfer. He's got a good thing. But anyway, that's how Silver Surfer was created. And then his origin is that he was on Zenn-La and Galactus was going to eat his planet. And he said, hey, don't eat my planet. Don't eat my beloved Shalabal here. And Zenn-La is a very peaceful place, as you can tell by the name. And he says, I will serve you as your herald, and I will find you unpopulated planets for you to eat.
He just created himself a job. It didn't even exist. And he's just like, yeah.
Galactus is like, all right,
job.
I could use a herald. Yeah, save me some legwork. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. So, yeah.
And apparently, even though he did a terrible job, really, because he ended up getting fired several times, but he still, that job position stayed there. Like, Galactus was always like, I need a herald now from that point forward.
Yeah, he liked having a herald once he had one, you know?
Yeah.
So, and, but of course, Surfer was always, you know, looking out for people. He didn't want him to eat planets that had people on them. So they would kind of, when they really crossed, swords there was when Galactus wanted to eat Earth.
Yeah.
And Silver Surfer teamed up with the Fantastic Four to like stop him from eating Earth. And then Galactus said, hey, Silver Surfer, you're being a kind of a jerk about this. I gave you the power cosmic. I gave you that surfboard you can soar the skies with there. You know what? So you know what? You're no longer my herald there, buddy. And in fact, you are now trapped here on Earth. You cannot leave Earth. See you later. And he took off. So that was like the premise for the first Silver Surfer series, is he was now trapped on Earth.
But at least he had a surfboard, so now it made a lot more sense that he had that surfboard.
So, hey, do you remember years later then, Kirby, he was at some other company, and he tried to come up with something where it was like a guy on skis. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Was that like the Black Racer or something?
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah, something like that.
He's like, hey, it worked once. Let's try it again.
Yeah, if they had snowboards, he definitely would have gone snowboard, but I don't think they had really come up with that yet. It was like, skis will have to do.
So,
I'm going to make a comic that has a guy on an intergalactic wave runner.
So that was the first Silver Surfer series, of him being here trapped on Earth and he couldn't leave. Because every time he would try to fly off Earth, he'd like hit a force field and boom, bounce back. And and think how crippling that is to the Silver Surfer, because he'd like to soar the spaceways. You know, he'd like to be out there at the stars and the moons and the suns and whatnot. And now he's stuck on Earth in Cleveland. You know, that's not good.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he does the same thing everywhere he goes, is just stand there and pontificate about the universe. So
that's why I love the Surfer. He's very like philosophical and and just the hopeless romantic that he gave up, he sacrificed everything and to save his love, but in doing so, he can't have her anymore. So
although once he got fired and he could leave Earth again, I don't see why he couldn't have her again. Like he's a weird silver guy.
Well, he tried. He tried to go back there, but there are complications. You know, she's moved on, that kind of thing. So it was
Maybe Galactus could just come eat that guy.
So anyway, this here second series, it started in 1987, and the original writer was Steve Englehart, and the original artist was Marshall Rogers. And the series ran for 145 issues, so that's a nice run.
Mm-hmm.
But in issue 1, what they did was they decided, in fact, I think Englehart they had already written an issue, and then they decided, you know what, now let's mix it up. And they said, now he can leave Earth. So you got to figure out a way to get him off Earth and get him back in this. Do you remember how they did it? I think I remember this. I didn't look it up, but I think.
Nope, I have no idea.
Well, the Fantastic Four were involved again.
Oh, of course.
It turns out that the barrier wasn't Surfer. Surfer could leave Earth, but his board couldn't. So
okay.
Yeah. Like once they figured that out, somehow Reed Richards did something like the molecular structure of the board and did all that kind of stuff. And then he
put them in unstable molecules in it. And,
something like that, yeah. And he got it to pass through that barrier and then reunited Surfer with his board out in space. And then, boom, he was free to go. So,
nice.
So then, the second series is him having intergalactic adventures and everything. And I think the first thing he did was went back to try to get Shelley Ball, but I can't remember the exact reason why they couldn't get back together. But she was she may have been like the queen or something of Shelley Ball or Zenn-La at that point. I don't know. I can't remember.
Couldn't have a king who was that smooth.
Yeah. So a proper show would have done more research, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, then let's talk impossible. Is there anything else about Surfer you'd like? I think everyone knows the Silver Surfer, and we just recapped him there.
Yeah. I mean, he had his own cartoon show in the 90s. Who doesn't?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
How about that?
I don't remember it being very good, but I remember it.
That's unfortunate. So I really like the Surfer. All right. So, but the main attraction here, the reason we picked this issue is Impossible Man. This little space.
Very, very light applause for that. Oh boy. Yeah. This is one of those characters that, like, when you're a kid, you thought was real cool. Now as an adult reading it, you're like, oh boy.
I still liked him. But he's
like
little,
the genie from Aladdin all over again.
Yeah, basically. He's a little impish fellow. He's green and he's got a big cone head and elf ears. And he wears a little purple outfit, like gloves and boots and underpants and stuff. And he can change his shape into anything. And he can mimic, but he's always purple and green. Although that wasn't the way it always was, which I learned today.
Really?
Yeah. So his first appearance was in Fantastic Four issue 11, 1963, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And he was a Popupian from the planet Popup. And he got his name because Ben Grimm, during that first appearance, because Impossible, he's just really annoying. You know, he's just, he just jumps around causing mischief. And Ben Grimm said he's impossible, that guy. He's impossible, so they call him Impossible. So.
But now he's going to change his name maybe after this issue.
Well, I don't know into what exactly. But he changes into a lot. We'll see if you can name all the people he changes into throughout this issue.
Yeah.
So. All right, but Stan Lee said Impossible Man's first appearance was the worst-selling Fantastic Four issue ever. At least up to that point, only 11. But and he thought it was because Impossible Man looked too unusual and too frivolous on the cover. So
he's too frivolous. He spends his money unwisely.
Like if you've never seen that cover, it's like the Fantastic Four off to the left, and they're walking towards him, and he's on the right, and he's just standing there. It's not a very dynamic cover.
Sure. It doesn't necessarily look like the biggest threat.
No. So Impossible Man didn't return until issue 175 in 1976, an absence of 13 years.
Holy hell.
Yeah, people are like, we've had enough of that Impossible Man. Let's wait until
sell a book with him.
Let's wait until this whole generation ages out of comic books, and then we'll bring them back. But this time he actually proved popular, and he was a series regular until issue 195 in 1978. Like, he was always around.
Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
Holy hell.
I had no idea. And he finally left there in issue 195 because Sue Storm just said, hey, I'm tired of you already. And then he turned himself into a bee.
I've got a child now. I can't deal with your dumb ass.
And he turned into a bee and flew away. And that's how he left there. Now, when I was a kid, I don't know if this was the first time I ever saw him, but he had a scavenger hunt in the Uncanny X-Men Annual 7 in 1982.
Yeah.
I remember buying that.
Sure.
And
there's also a New Mutants Annual that he was in. I remember him like super big fighting Warlock on the cover.
Yep, that was New Mutants Annual 3 in 1987. And according to Wikipedia, that is when it was established that he could only turn into things that were green and purple.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't know that. So I questioned it immediately. So I went back to the old Fantastic Four issues. And yeah, he could change into anything. Like he turned into Sue Storm one time and he looked just like Sue Storm. You know, he could just.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Fantastic was real confused that night.
And then he could turn into like a spaceship and he'd look like a metal ship. It wouldn't be green or be like silver, you know, and that kind of stuff. So then I'm like, well, but I thought in the X-Men, so I went back and I looked at that Uncanny X-Men Annual from 82, and he was pretty much always purple and green except for one panel where he turns into like I almost said George Jefferson. George Washington. Turns into like George Washington. And his face is still like a white fella's face. So I didn't know. That could have just been
it could just be a choice, I guess. Maybe he just likes being green and purple, and he could be other things, but he just doesn't want to.
Well, I think that's the way it was early, but something maybe in that annual they firmly established, no, he can only be green and purple. And then after that, he's only green and purple. So I like the fact that he can only be
all the people who used to. Yeah, I like that. Gives him some limits.
Yeah, because otherwise it's like he's trying to be sneaky. And this way, it's just like he's just trying to make fun of whatever he's doing. Like, I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just, look, here I am. I'm just a jerk. Like, I'm just being an idiot. So.
Yeah. He's like a little elf. You're not going to actually confuse him for a human, even if he's wearing a trench coat. I don't care what those episodes try to say.
So, anything else about Impossible Man you would like to mention?
I mean, I guess he's pretty much the Marvel version of the, Mr. Mxyzptlk, or however you say it.
I don't know about that, because Mr. Mxyzptlk, he's evil, right?
I mean, the Impossible Man's kind of evil.
No.
I don't even know that Mr. Mxyzptlk is like that evil. He just likes fucking with Superman, which is kind of the Impossible Man thing too. So, I don't think he's out there trying to destroy the Earth.
I think the Impossible Man is just a little scamp. He just likes to have fun.
That he is.
Maybe we'll have to do a Mr. Mxyzptlk issue.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but then I was like, this is so annoying. I don't know if I can do that 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, okay. So the writer here,
I did find it strange here that this issue was like extra sized. It was like 30 pages long, even though it's the simplest story that really didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it is a very simple story. But Jim Valentino is the writer here, and I know we had talked about Jim Valentino in the past, and I couldn't remember when. And it was before your time here, but he created Normal Man.
Oh, that's right, Normal Man.
So that was the guy who had no superpowers, but he lived on a planet where everyone else had superpowers. So he was the only one who was just Normal Man. And so if you want to get a real detailed breakdown of Jim Valentino, go back and listen to that episode with Mike L. But the thumbnail here, he was born in 1952 in the Bronx, New York. He was an artist and a writer. He created Normal Man. He's also known for creating Shadowhawk for Image Comics.
Oh, yeah. The weird Wolverine-esque character.
One of the many Wolverine ripoffs.
Yep.
And he had 48 writing credits at Marvel, including Silver Surfer 32 and 33. He's probably most famous at Marvel for writing the first 29 issues of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 from 1990 to 1992.
Oh, yeah.
And he also wrote the one-shot Impossible Man Summer Vacation in 1990.
Oh, I think I have that.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I think I actually have that book still. Because I think the X-Men were in it, so that's why I need to get this. It's X-Men related.
Yeah, the cover shows Impossible Man on the beach, like lounging in a chair, and I think you can see Wolverine buried in the sand next to him, and like Dr. Doom's there and a couple other people. So, all right, so that's the writer. The artist is Ron Lim, and this is the first time I think we've ever talked about Ron Lim. He was born in 1965 in California. No exact location given, but I believe
the man of mystery.
Well, currently it says he lives in Sacramento, so maybe it's.
Okay.
But he was discovered by Marvel at a 1987 comic convention, and he was hired on the spot. How about that?
Those are the days. Just show up, and you get a job.
He would have been 22 at the time. And then he drew the Silver Surfer for 6 years, from 1988 to 1994, starting with issue 15 and ending with issue 92. And he also drew most of the Infinity crossover series in the 1990s.
That's right.
That included Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, and Infinity Crusade. He was also a regular artist on
George Perez, I think, did like the first 4 issues of Infinity Gauntlet, but then he just like quit. And then Ron Lim came in to like finish it up.
All right. He was also a regular artist on Captain America during his time on the Surfer and this was from 1990 to 1991. He went to DC for a bit. He helped start a failed publisher called Future Comics. Then he returned to Marvel in the 2000s and worked on Avengers Next, J2, and Fantastic Five.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a whole initiative. It was based off of, I think it started in a What If issue because they had already basically killed off Peter and Mary Jane's baby, like it was stillborn, quote unquote. But yeah, that was a whole mess. But they're like, okay, what if, they had the baby and the baby grew up. And so like their daughter ended up being like a teenager and she kind of becomes the new Spider Girl. So that's kind of what started. And then they're like, hey, we should keep going with this. Like we'll create a whole universe in this future of the, potential future. And like J2 was like the son of the Juggernaut who was like a hero.
I was going to ask what that was. All right, that's pretty cool.
I think it was not a bad idea in theory, but like I remember he looked like the Juggernaut. But I think his costume was black, and he had like a grunge kind of plaid shirt tied around his like waist. Like what the fuck is this?
Apparently that was all part of the MC2 universe.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a Tom DeFalco led initiative and alternate futures of the Marvel Universe. I had no idea that existed.
Yep. Yeah, that was a big initiative in the late 90s there.
Like, I think they said that.
Oh, go ahead. I think that first issue, the first appearance of that May Parker, like, is actually worth some decent money now, because I think because of those Spider-Verse movies, I think maybe she popped up in there or something, but.
Now, I think that Fantastic Five, the team members there were like, the Human Torch.
Yep. Franklin Richards, I want to say.
Yep, Franklin Richards, Ben Grimm, and then the Human Torch was married to a Skrull lady.
Oh, probably Elijah.
Yep.
The one who was impersonating Alicia Masters there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And then it was like Reed Richards' brain in a robot.
Oh, I hope it was Herbie.
He did look Herbie-ish. Yes. Apparently Sue Storm was injured on one of their missions, so she was no longer part of the team. She
just sits around and watches their stories all day.
I think she takes care of Reed's comatose body. And because his disembodied brain is
okay. They're keeping the body around just in case.
I think. So,
in case they ever come up with a cure for like 1,700 stab wounds, you just be ready.
So, all right, there's the background on the creators here. But when Ron Lim came into this book, because I was buying Silver Surfer when this was going on, when it started in '87, and I bought it every month until well into the 30s. So I think I own this issue. But like the first few issues were just kind of, they were visually kind of dull. They weren't too exciting. Like they had Joe Staton doing some issues.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's not, you're not writing home about Joe Staton.
No. So when Ron Lim came in with issue 15, it was like a breath of fresh air. It brought all this new energy to the book because the way he drew Silver Surfer, he drew him like he was a jacked superhero. Before that, he was always just kind of like a normal sized, not muscular dude. He was
like
a guy.
Pre-Spider Bite Peter Parker.
Yeah. But Lim gave him made him look ripped. So he looked pretty tough. And it was just a big change for how Silver Surfer was drawn. And the way he drew him, it kind of made him look even shinier somehow.
Yeah. He's got the little glint marks. Yeah. Kind of works really well.
So it was a drastic change at the time. So I was a big fan of it. And I think at the end of last week's episode, I mentioned how I'm not a huge fan of all his, but I liked his art in this issue. We'll talk about it when we get through it. But my problem with Lim was always sometimes like the faces of his human characters would sometimes be like disproportioned, like the eyes would be too big.
All of his faces are all kind of the same. That's kind of the problem. Is every character's face looks very similar. Throughout all those Infinity books, like pretty much everyone has the same faces, the same facial expressions. He's kind of limited in that regard, but it doesn't look terrible.
Yeah, and like sometimes the bodies will end up looking flat or just not as dynamic as I would like three-dimensionally. Okay. But he's still really good, not to complain too much. But
he certainly did a good job with all the different things that Impossible Man turns into in this.
Yeah, nice. But I think he does his best when he's doing space stuff with aliens. Not so much when he's drawing like normal humans. But anyway, so. All right. Anything else about these creators before we look at the issue?
I don't think so.
All right. Then why don't you describe the cover for the people, Jack?
All right. So it's a pretty good looking cover. Got the little Marvel corner box up there with the Silver Surfer riding on that surfboard, getting ready to like hand blast somebody.
Hand blast.
And then we got the little Acts of Idiocy thing up in the corner there.
Yeah.
An Acts of Vengeance parody, I guess, because
it
doesn't count as part of that, but they wanted to reference it anyway. And then we get the little Silver Surfer logo, which kind of looks like an old-timey diner, like the neon sign you would see in like an old-timey diner. And then we got the Silver Surfer. He is standing there against kind of like a Looney Tunes-esque background with like the little, like circle in the middle and just like a red background. And there's a big shot of space in the middle. And the Silver Surfer's just kind of standing there being like, oh, this guy. And the Impossible Man is right next to him with some boxing gloves looking like he's here for a fight. And it says, in this corner, the Impossible Man.
Yeah, and Impossible Man's a little spindly little guy, and he's got these big oversized boxing gloves and purple trunks. And
Yeah.
so you know it's a comedy. It's a comedy.
Yeah. Don't take this one too seriously.
Yeah.
It's an act of idiocy, as they say.
So I enjoyed it. So I like the cover. And then we open it up. We get an ad for the Konami handheld Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
I had that one. I had that one and the second Turtle game.
Oh.
Neither of them were that good, but I had them.
All right. So then we see the issue opens up and we see, as you mentioned earlier, Surfer just standing on his board pontificating about the nature of reality and the universe and pondering it all.
So emo.
Nah, he's cool, man. He's not emo. He's cool. He's deep.
If he had hair, it would be hanging down in front of his eyes. You'd have to keep flipping it out of the way. Sigh.
But he's, what exactly is he talking about here? Is there anything worth reading? The joy of the new, I don't know, just, yeah, he likes space. That's the gimmick. That's the whole point of it.
All this time, I'm still in awe of it all. Perfect beauty of creation. The wonder of its symmetry. What mortal could conceive the random violence of a supernova?
My Silver Surfer would not talk like that. I'm just going to put it out there. But anyway, Surfer, while he's doing all that, he just gets whacked by something out of nowhere. Whack. And he gets knocked off his board, and he's floating in space, and he's like, what the heck was that? And we can see a little green and purple leg sticking out from the collision. Yeah. And the title of this issue is Nothing is Impossible, man. How about that?
I get it. I get it.
So then Surfer's on his board and he's looking around like, hey, what's going on there? But yeah, look at his board. His board's not purple and green here.
It's kind of purple, I guess. Like it's a very light purple.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's like kind of shadowed.
Yeah.
But
you try to hide it, though, it's just the underside of the board. It's going to be shadowed, but it is a slight color of purple.
So, but yeah, he looks over to his left there and he says, hey, wait, my board's over there. And what am I standing on? And he looks down and he sees old Impossible Man's face smiling at him. And Impossible Man is a surfboard, Jank.
Whoa.
He pulled the old switcheroo.
That one I would have guessed what he was trying to be there. The surfboard.
And then he pops back into his normal appearance. And yeah, every time he changes, there's a pop sound effect. Pop.
Yeah.
So.
If this were an audio episode, that'd be very annoying, I feel like.
And he says, "Nose for you, Bob. I'm the Impossible Man." And Surfer says, "The Impossible Man, you speak English like you're an Earthman?" And yeah, because you always got to clarify why they can speak English right away.
Yep. No, I'm a Popupian, though I have visited Earth before, and you? Yes, I've been there. So I don't know why they're talking in that language, but whatever. It's a common tongue, apparently, throughout the galaxy.
But when he was talking about Earth, he turned himself into like an Earth balloon with a little string. And then he turned himself into a little puppy dog next to Silver Surfer.
Big old eyes. Big puppy dog eyes.
And then he turns into a Silver Surfer. But he's green.
Yeah.
And
looks a lot like the Mask, a little bit.
And he just says, hey, I think we're best buddies now, you know? And he says, I'm the Silver Surfer. And he says, ooh, that sounds real ominous. The Silver Surfer, I like that. It has a nice ring to it. So what are you doing today, Surfy? So he just wants to hang out and be friends with him, you know? And then he just turns into a little kid on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Guess that's something.
It's all the rage at the time, I guess.
And then he turns into a giant chalkboard because he wants Silver Surfer to write his name 50 times.
And you know what part of him is the chalk.
How dare you. But he says his name's Norin Rad, and he says, oh, that's a really cool name. Did they ever call you Nori when you were a kid? So you can kind of see where this is going.
Yeah.
It's the Impossible Man being really annoying and Silver Surfer just wanting to be left alone and pondering the stars.
He's the ultimate straight man. Just has no time for any of this humor.
And next he turns into Howard the Duck.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He makes a Cleveland joke. Yeah, it's a good looking Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Because I liked him when he looked like Donald the Duck. Not later on when they made him look weird.
Yeah. Like the movie version where it's just like, that's grotesque.
Then he turns into Doctor Strange, and then let's test Jank if he knows who this next guy is.
Oh yeah, I don't know this
All
one. He won't stump me yet.
Yeah, Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
And he's just yelling at Silver Surfer. And next is Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham.
Yeah, we just did that.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
And then
And he tries to be Galactus, Silver Surfer's old boss there.
yeah, because Surfer says, Galactus, take me, because he's just at his wit's end. And Old Impossible Man turns into Galactus and says, Galactus, hey, I know Galactus. He ate my world once. And Surfer said he did. And then and the Impossible Man turns into a bottle of Pepto-Bismol. And he says, yeah, but did we show him? We gave the big lug indigestion.
Upset stomach, indigestion, nausea, heart, diarrhea.
That's right. And then he turns into just a generic superhero with an approved by Comics Code Authority sticker on his chest.
Yeah, I like his butt chin. That's pretty good.
That looks like actually one of the guys, like a hero from Normal Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you probably never read it, but yeah, I wonder if that was an inside joke there with Jim Valentino that he did that.
That could be.
So, now
he's approved by the Comics Code Authority sticker on his chest. That's pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
You know this next guy, right?
Is it the Fool Killer?
It's Obnoxio the Clown. You're not familiar? Oh, he had a thing with the X-Men. They had like a crossover with the X-Men, Obnoxio the Clown. Yeah, type in X-Men Obnoxio the Clown. You'll find something up there.
Of all kind of research.
And then, Surfer just keeps saying, I just want to be left alone. And, but, Impossible Man.
Now Impossible Man's turning into Marilyn Monroe and he's trying to seduce him. I don't know what he wants here.
Yeah, the 7-year itch Marilyn Monroe with the dress blowing up. And, so he just wants to be left alone. But then some aliens come in and, we get a big splash page of all these alien ships around them. And there's just a voice saying, surrender the Impossible Man or die. You are surrounded. And the Impossible Man says, yipes, and he jumps into Silver Surfer's arms. So, look, he turns into a little monkey.
This must be your favorite panel in the whole book.
So why do these aliens want Impossible Man, Jack?
Well, Silver Surfer asks him, what do they want with you? And he turns into a kind of obese lady, let's say. Maybe not thinnest, but he's like, well, there was this.
Kind of looks like that troll in the metal cone bra from Elf.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep. I wish it was more coney, but yeah. Well, there was this minor misunderstanding involving their queen. It's a long, boring story. You probably don't want to hear it. But
so apparently
tell it because these guys are ready to shoot for whatever he did to their queen.
Yeah, so apparently he insulted the queen somehow. And Impossible Man turns into Irving Forbush.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
The little guy with the pan on his head. And he's like, can you help me, please? Please? And Silver Surfer's like, I can try. So he tries to talk to the alien guys. And who are these people? They're the Argonians, I believe.
Sure, let's go with that. They're big red guys. Yeah. He's Captain Galactu of the planet Ergonar.
All right.
We have no quarrel with you, Harold. It's the Popupian we want.
Yeah, like this commander of the ship, he's not impressed at Silver Surfer, but the other guys on the ship are like, uh-oh, we shouldn't be messing around with
you know who that is?
Silver Surfer. So I don't know.
He's like, well, she's no Nova, or he's no Nova. That's what we gotta look out for.
Hey, I like this. Impossible Man turns into the Yellow Kid. You remember that little cartoon guy, the Yellow Kid?
Yeah.
I got them old Cosmic Blues again on his shirt. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so the commander of the ship says, all right, prepare to open fire. And his shipmates are like, what? On the Silver Surfer? You nuts. But they fire, and Impossible Man turns into a rocket and just gets out of the way in time. And Surfer's just standing there, and he's not amused that they just try to shoot him.
Yeah, I don't know how Silver Surfer ever loses a fight. Apparently, we can survive that. Not even a scratch on.
Well, yeah, he's got the power cosmic. You don't want to
Yeah.
mess with the Silver Surfer. Like, how does he ever lose a fight? What can you recall a time when he does lose a fight? Like,
I've definitely read some, especially around that Infinity, saga.
it has to be
No.
something. It has to be somebody who also has power cosmic, or someone who can manipulate things.
I feel like I've seen, people with way less power though fight against him semi-successfully.
Yeah, all
One of
those
those power levels that keeps you sliding.
all those times he's on Earth, like for all those years. I mean, there should have been no one who could have beat him. You know.
Yeah, especially when you're on the Defenders, you got Doctor Strange and the Hulk there. Like between the three of you, who's gonna stop you?
So anyway, the commander of the ship is like, "Oops," and he's tugging at the collar of his shirt and he's sweating because he knows he just messed up. And
What's up, big?
here comes Surfer, this power cosmic, and he's flying right at him. And he's like, "I'm going to disable their ships, but I'm not going to kill them. You know, I'm just going to take out their weapons." So he blows out their weapons, and then Impossible Man turns into like a little Luke Skywalker looking guy, I guess, the lightsaber.
Oh yeah, you're right. Little bathrobe.
Yeah, the lightsaber, I guess, is what helps. And then he turns into Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this is 89 when Rocket Raccoon, no one knew who the hell Rocket Raccoon was at this time. Like they knew, he'd been in like maybe 4 issues
Yeah,
or
he
something
had
at this point.
his limited series and stuff, yeah. Occasional Hulk appearance or something, but nothing big.
Yeah. So nice to see him. But then all these other ships, because he's flying in as Rocket Raccoon to help him, and all these other alien ships just start shooting at him then. And
Get some great dialogue of what? The Impossible Man entering the battle. No, stay back.
and Surfer gets hit again. So then Impossible Man turns into Dark Phoenix. He says, you
now
can't do that to
the
Mom.
aliens are scared. Like, it's Dark Phoenix, the World Destroyer. He's like, no, you dumbass, that's the Popup again. He's green and purple. Pretty obvious.
They try shooting at him. He turns into Reed Richards, and he's just stretching around all their laser blasts. But then Surfer goes around, and he's taking out all the weapon systems of all the ships now. And Impossible Man turns into a baseball umpire, and he says, "You're out of here." And then he turns into Curly from the Three Stooges. That was a tough one, unless you doesn't really look too much like. Right. The dialogue helped there, but then yuck.
And yuck, yeah. Everyone knows that can only be Mr. T.
So then we get a big splash page of Surfer flying around, disabling all the ships with Impossible Man on a surfboard. And then Surfer says, "Hey, enough of this. All right, let's talk this out. You know, let's just use some diplomacy on this." And the little commander of the ship, he's like, all right, I guess.
I guess I have no choice. You have disabled my fleet and brought shame and dishonor to me and my family for generations hence. I will return home in disgrace." I love how sadly this turned out for that poor guy.
And
getting beheaded.
An Impossible Man turns into a scoreboard, and I don't know what kind of scoreboard this is. I guess there were 12 ships, and
yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I was thinking, is it supposed to be a baseball scoreboard? Like there should be 12 innings, so I'm guessing there's 12 ships.
Went into extra innings, apparently.
But it wouldn't if it was 9-0 at the time. So Surfer won 12-0. The home team won, and he's celebrating. He's like, "Yay!" So Surfer says,
get this next one.
Oh yeah, who does he turn to next, Jack?
It's our buddy Madcap.
We just talked about him like a couple months back.
Yeah.
But Surfer makes a deal with the guys. He's like, "Hey, I'll come back to your planet and I'll smooth things over with everybody. I'll explain the situation and I'll apologize on behalf of Impossible Man and we'll make everything cool." Cool? And guys like, "All right." So Surfer yells he says Impossible Man will promise he will never go back to your planet again. And Impossible Man says, "I will." Or no, he says, he won't. And he says, "Yes, he won't." And he like threatens him. So Impossible Man's like, "Oh, okay. Sure, whatever." And then those guys fly away, and Impossible Man turns into Warlock from the New Mutants.
Yeah. Only he said self-friend.
Yeah. And he says, "Wow, that was great. Let's do it again." And Surfer's still yelling at him. He's like, "Don't you realize how dangerous that could have been?" And he turns into Lockheed the Dragon.
Yeah.
He's,
That's pretty cool.
he's like, you could have gotten yourself killed or worse, gotten some innocent killed in the crossfire. And he turns into Franklin Richards.
Yeah, the little 4.5 shirt.
Then, what, does he just turn into a bug here? There's an ant.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Because, like, Surfer's looming over top of him, looking like a giant, and he's just still scolding him. And then Surfer finally, he thinks to himself, look at me, trying to reason with a child. This Impossible Man's just a dummy. I can't do anything with him. And then who does he turn into, Jack?
I don't know if this is supposed to be Pee Wee Herman.
Yes. It's supposed
Okay.
to be Pee Wee Herman. I think this had to be just months before the theater incident.
Ooh.
I don't know when that happened.
So he should have long hair and like a weird mustache going on here.
And but he says, "Oh, you're no fun." And then Surfer yells at him again. Haven't you listened to a word I said? Don't you see the? And he's like, "Oh, what's the use?" And so Surfer
really
flies
are
off.
impossible.
Yeah. And he's like, "You'll never learn. You really are impossible. Just stay away from Ergonar, and stay away from me." And Impossible Man says, "Well, if that's how you feel about it, maybe I will." And so Impossible Man sits down on an asteroid and he's pouting, and he's trying to figure out what to do next. He's like, maybe I'll go to Earth. They're always good for But then there's a gun next to his head. It says, "You shall go nowhere, Popupian." Popupian?
Popupian.
Popupian?
That sounds even better.
And so who's standing there, Jank?
Well, it's the captain of the ship. He's come back. Get his revenge.
Yeah, and Impossible Man's all scared and his eyes are popping out of his head. And then he turns into a chicken and he starts running away. But it wasn't the commander, it was actually Silver Surfer. He rearranged his molecular structure to become that guy.
Oh, what a trick.
And so Impossible Man turns into Wolverine. He's like, "Surfer, that was mean." He says, "I'd ask you to read the Surfer's part, but I don't want you to do that emo voice."
All right, fine. Let's see. As are all practical jokes, Impossible Man. Now you know how it feels. And knowing is half the battle.
And then Impossible Man says, "Oh, I never meant any harm to anyone."
I know, but your actions were capable of causing it. Promise you won't do it again?
I promise.
Good.
Keep going.
Oh, I knew it wasn't impossible to teach you a lesson. You'll be happier for this, I promise.
Uh-huh.
You realize you're probably going to have to find a new name for yourself now. Take care, my no longer impossible friend.
You too. But he's got his fingers crossed behind his back.
That scamp.
And then he sticks his tongue out at him as he's flying away. Gives him the old raspberry. And it says, "Never quite the end." How about that?
All's well that ends well. Yeah, there really was not much to the story there other than Possible Man shows up. Some guys want to kill him. Silver Surfer easily takes out their guns, and that's it.
I liked it, though. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. It
wasn't terrible. It went down smooth. Like, it was an easy read.
Yeah, nothing earth-shattering happens, but it was a fun little issue. I think your enjoyment of it will depend on how much you enjoy the Impossible Man. I think I like the guy.
That basically is the crux of the entire issue. Yeah, other than that, you get like a couple panels of Silver Surfer's emo pontificating, but other than that, it's very much the Impossible Man show.
But we see Surfer being a good guy, you know, not destroying those aliens, trying to find peace. So that's very much Surfer-like. And Impossible Man just being his usual annoying self. I thought the art here was very strong from Ron Lim.
Yeah, I thought it was good, especially on, like we said, the Impossible Man's shapeshifts were pretty cool looking. Silver Surfer looked like he always does. Again, he has that same face that he does, and Adam Warlock does, and everyone does. But
he's clearly been hitting the gym because he's jacked.
That's right. When you're surfing that much, your abs get a nice workout.
Also, I think the other change, he didn't have the, at least in the old days, he had underpants on. Remember, like, he always had, like, little lines for underpants?
Yeah, that's right.
Now he's just all metallic and smooth all over. So, but that's probably why Shia LaBeouf didn't want him back.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's got to be the real reason.
He's a Ken doll down there. What am I supposed to do? Yeah.
Kind of a Ken doll everywhere. Like, it's just plastic. This.
But I'm a big Silver Surfer guy, though. I always enjoy reading the Silver Surfer. So, I don't know. This was
Straight Man to the Impossible Man's slack off goof.
Yeah. Now, in this, Mantis also plays a big role in the second volume of Silver Surfer. She kind of fills in for Shia LaBeouf as kind of his love interest for a while. And then, for at least like the first 10 issues or so, she's in there a lot, I think.
Yeah, they kept trying to make Mantis a thing.
Yeah.
Never really worked out, but oddly enough, the movies, I think, did a great job. Like, they made Mantis way cooler than she ever was in the comics.
Yeah, she became popular then, but,
yeah.
Well, she dies at one point, but then, she's like a tree life kind of thing.
Yeah, she's supposed to be like the celestial Madonna or something, like the
yes.
supreme being that's gonna, change the whole universe, but no one cares.
Yeah. Also, in this second volume, a lot of stuff going on with the Elders of the Universe.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Mephisto, I know, would pop up in Silver Surfer a lot.
And of course, Thanos made his big return.
Yeah, I sure did.
I think not long after this.
Yep.
Then
I think 40s, somewhere in the 40s.
And then that led into the Infinity.
Is that big one? Yeah, it's got that big, cool, like chromium cover with him and Thanos.
Yeah. So yeah, check out the Silver Surfer if you're out there. What do you give this issue, Jake?
It was definitely. I got a little annoyed by the Impossible Man at a certain point, but overall, it was a fun romp. So I'm not going to come down hard on it or anything like that. I'm going to give it solid 7.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go 8 because it's a simple story, but it's well done. It's exactly what you want the story to be. So no missteps. Is perfectly done. So there you go. 8 out of 10 for me. It's just a fun little story.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what do you got for us next week, Jack?
All right. Well, I had another thing in mind, but you know what? I think I will end up doing going with Mr. Mixelplick instead. No. We'll go back to back with the annoying little guys from another dimension. And we're going to go with Superman number 335.
335. What year?
Superman versus Mr. Mixelplick from 1979.
Oh, all right. I like the 1979. Normally I don't like the Superman, But recently, when I take my naps, as I'm wont to do, I've been listening to old Superman radio shows from the 1940s,
Ooh.
And the one I was listening to the other day, they had it was a big long story arc. It took me several days because I sleep through most of them. But basically, some gangster fella concocted some potion of kryptonite solution, and they tricked Superman into drinking it.
Oh no, he's dead for sure.
Well, it didn't kill him. The dose just gave him amnesia.
Huh.
So the plan though is to keep giving it to him until he dies. But when he got amnesia, he somehow still escaped them somehow, and he's just wandering around not knowing who he is for several episodes. And
that's a long time.
Yeah, this was like a 12 episode thing or something. It went on a very long time. And so we got Lois Lane and Jimmy and all them trying to find him, and then Batman and Robin are also trying to find him. They're trying to track him down.
Ooh. Have they ever been in this before, or just this one?
Yeah, they were in other episodes. Like they would team up in these old radio shows a lot.
That's cool.
So eventually, though, Clark Kent, he still doesn't know who he is. But he's like hitchhiking around, and people call him Bud, so he thinks that's his name. So he says his name's Bud. And at one time, he wanders across a professional baseball team, a minor league team, practicing. And he's just walking around, and a guy hits a foul ball. It's going to hit the manager in the head, and he just reaches out and grabs the ball real quick. And, they're like, oh, hell, he just saved me. And then when he throws the ball back, they're like, what the hell? This guy's the best baseball player I've ever seen. Like, hey, why don't you go in there and take some hacks in the cage or go pitch? Let's say you pitch. And, he's just striking out everybody. Because not like that episode or that issue we read.
Yeah, I was going to say, they didn't read that issue where we find out Superman's terrible at baseball.
In this radio show, he's a very good pitcher because he's Superman. It makes sense. And so they side him. So he's a minor league baseball player. And he gets 3 starts and he throws 3 no-hitters. And so then they sign his contract to like the Yankees, the equivalent of the Yankees or whatever. And then he's going to go up to the majors. And, but there's gangsters, and I think I still got to go back and hear the final episode, really, because I missed a lot.
Yeah. You got to find out how this ends. Maybe next week during the Superman episode we can find exciting conclusion.
I know how it ends. Like it ends happily, but I don't know how they explain the fact because they figure out that this Bud Smith, this pitcher, is Clark Kent because he looks just like Clark Kent except he doesn't have glasses and his voice is a little deeper. But they can't put it together that he looks exactly like Superman as well because Superman doesn't have glasses and he has a dark, deeper voice. But they figure out it's Clark Kent. And but I got to figure out like how they can explain why Clark Kent was such an aces baseball player when he had amnesia.
Well, he still got the powers. He just doesn't know that he's
no, but how would they explain it though? Like how would Lois Lane?
How do they say it afterwards? Yeah. Like just like grew up on a farm. There's nothing else to do but throw baseballs around.
So why aren't you pitching in the majors instead of writing for Perry White, the Daily Planet? So.
He's like, well, I like the scenery. That Jimmy Olsen looks good in a bow tie.
Well, I'm going to guess, like, when he gets his memory back, he can't play baseball. Like, he's like, oh, I don't know. I guess it was just a fluke. I can't. I don't know how to do it now. You
did the old Rookie of the Year thing. Like, he slips and broke his arm, and then it healed up so tight that he can now throw a super fastball. But then he slips and falls again, and he loses it.
Like those people get conked on the head and then they can suddenly speak like Swedish or something.
Yeah. Remember like King Tut on the old Batman?
Yes. Exactly.
Hit on the head and he thought he was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not too down on Superman at the moment. So you're doing a good job picking this now because I'd be able to tolerate it now, because I'm still on this old radio show high.
Still on the high. Yeah.
So all right, that's next week here.
Superman Dragon.
Here on the show, Superman and Mr. Mxyzptlk. Well, yeah, we got to figure out how to say his name too for next week.
Yeah. I feel like I've heard several different ways, but yeah.
Is it Mr. Mxyzptlk or Plick? Mr. Plick.
I'll watch the old episode of the 90s cartoon and see what they say. I know it's got Gilbert Gottfried playing.
Oh, nice.
Like so, that's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so that's next week here on the big show. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.